I want to welcome you to a new webinar. This webinar is a joint webinar together with Spark Systems Central Europe with the topic configuration management in MBSE. Configuration management, including versioning and also change management, is one of the hot topics in MBSE, in model-based systems engineering, because managing the complexity of systems needs methods and tools for controlling the evolution of models. And on the other hand, teams or even teams of engineers distributed all over the world have to develop together complex parts of a system. And in general, this topic is very important to me. I have been working on this topic for many, many years, around 15 years, and Horst, who is speaker today, even longer. It is also the reason why I ended up at Liber. And before introducing today's speakers, I want to make two announcements. First one, if you have any questions during this webinar, please type in your question using the Q&A dialog of Zoom. We want to answer them during or at the end of the webinar. And second announcement, the webinar is recorded and we will publish it together with the slides in the next days. We will send you the slides and the link, YouTube link via mail. Our today's speakers are Daniel Siegel from Liber and Horst Kagel from Spark Systems. Daniel is a well-known expert in MBSE and is heavily involved in standardization organizations like the OMG or in COSE. And Horst has done his PhD in modeling and model-driven engineering and worked in the last years as consultant and trainer at Spark Systems Central Europe. He is not only known for his broad and also deep knowledge around EA, Enterprise Architect, but also for his books like the EA Compendium. So that's it from my side. Daniel, Horst, the stage is yours. So hello, Horst. Daniel, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thanks. Can you hear us?
Yeah, perfect. Now
okay.
it works.
So we had some issues. Okay. So Horst and I gathered in the office today because it's easier to do it this way. We keep our distance, but we try to entertain you today. Today is like the prequel for the other webinars we have recently done, the explanation how we ended up where we are. And I think we can start right away into the slides. And so we have some issues in the start with the technology, but we will get it done. So we both located in Vienna. Horst works for Spark Systems Central Europe and I work for Liber. We share the same office because Spark Systems Central Europe and Liber have the same ownership. So this is how we ended up doing this together today. The challenges for MBSE with configuration management. I choose a random year. I would say this was roughly 2014, so 6 years ago. It was very obvious that MBSE needs advanced configuration management to be able to handle the future of complexity with safety critical. Autonomous driving was kind of on the horizon. Tesla was already kind of here. It was really a period where things changed a lot. The established Git processes have been very successful for agile development in the software industry, but they are not supported by commercial modeling solutions. So you can't do Git flow with any of the commercial modeling tools at that time. No usable solution for SysML data, which is basically almost the same. but really it was already on the horizon that to be able to manage the future challenges for systems engineering, we would need capabilities to work in branches, to develop platforms, to do 100% and 150% variants and stuff like that. So the industry challenge, I think you're all pretty much aware. There is constant cost pressure, innovation pressure. The complexity is getting out of control to some respect, and the norms getting stricter and stricter. So that all means you have constant change. And to be able to manage constant change, good version control mechanism and good processes are what proved to be very successful for the software industry. This is the main industries we serve, but we also have banks, insurances, whatsoever. So it's not just safety critical. The agenda of today is first we will take you on this 15 years of journey we have been on, the history of model versioning. Then we will discuss different solutions for model versioning, especially with a focus on enterprise architect. But we will also talk a little bit about other solutions. And at the end of the day, we will show how things could work or work for our customers with Lemon Tree. Horst, it's you.
Okay, thank you. As Daniel mentioned, I would like to explain a little bit the history of model versioning we have. So it started in the year 2005. I was still a researcher at the Technical University. I joined a project called Model CVS. It is Model Concurrent Versioning System. The focus was a semantic infrastructure for model-based tool integration. The participants of this project have been the Technical University, the Johannes Kepler University in Linz, the Austrian Army, and the American Productivity Group. And the focus of this project was to build a kind of model repository, a version control repository for models, in order to be able to bridge the gap between different tools and modeling languages. So on the left-hand side, for instance, you see Model A. On the right-hand side, you see Model B. Model A and Model B could be a model in different modeling languages within different tools. And the aim was to build an infrastructure which allows us to version control the models and automatically transform models from one tool in one language into another tool in another language. So it was really a challenging and ambitious approach in order to be able to follow the well-known version control approaches. You can't see all the details, but here we have the tools, the developer A, developer B. We have the common repository, which is the version control system, and we would like to check in and check out and do all the conflict detection, conflict resolution, and merge. So this was the focus and the aim of this project, and not just coping with syntactical conflicts, but also semantic conflicts. So for instance, if we have different modeling languages, it could be that the syntax of these modeling languages is really similar or equal, but the semantics are different and the opposite. So semantic is the same, but the syntax is different. Yeah. And this was the focus of this project. In these 3 years, we did a lot of publications and a lot of research. And as you can see here, it's just a subset of the publications. You can find the whole list of publications at www.modelcvs.org, publications. And as you can see here, the focus was on lifting meta models to ontologies, so to get the semantics out of the modeling languages, do automatic matching and automatic transformation from one language to the other. The topic version control and version control processes are not really covered by the Model CVS project. And therefore, in 2009, there was another research project started, which was called AMO, Adaptable Model Versioning. The participants, again, have been the Technical University, the Johannes Kepler University, and surprise, Spark Systems Central Europe. So I've switched in 2008 to Spark Systems, and now I've joined this research project as the industrial partner. And this project, the AMO project, was based on the findings of the Model CVS project, with more refinement about this version control idea. So the concurrent versioning of a model, doing the conflict resolution, the diff conflict resolution, and the merge. And of course, a lot of, and this project was based on the Eclipse framework, the Eclipse modeling framework, with the different merge components. And of course, we did a lot of research, and the focus was to get a better understanding of how to diff models, because when we are thinking about current version control systems, which are text-based, it's actually pretty simple to diff text, because text has a linear structure, line by line. We can compare each line and can easily figure out what's the difference from one version to the other one, just by comparing each character of each line. So it's a straightforward approach, but of course, the complete version control process still has challenges, also for text-based approaches. But if we think about models, so as already mentioned, just comparing, merging these files, or at least comparing, that's more or less easy stuff. But when we think about the model, that's not so easy, because a model is always a graph-like structure. Yeah? On the left-hand side, we have a model. On the right-hand side, it will be the same model, but with changes. And it's not that easy to figure out where to start comparing, because the models, most of the models do not have really unique IDs. So unique IDs come into play when we talk about modeling tools and implementations, but languages itself actually do not have unique IDs. So the approach in this project was to do a kind of heuristic matching to figure out if a project has been changed. Yeah. So the challenge actually is we do not have a standardized unique ID, which will in future maybe be solved, hopefully, especially in SysML v2, the new version of SysML. There is a built-in unique ID within the standard. So if tool vendors implement the standard, then the chance is good to have an easy way to compare models. So the project AMOR finished in 2011. And as mentioned, there was a lot of publications as well. The complete list of publications can be found at www.modelversioning.org. As you can see here, the focus was mainly on the version control and the collaboration, how to do the merging of models. Good.
So when this project was finished, basically we had two new employees in our group. One was Horst and the other one was Konrad Wieland, and there were multiple outputs. Some of the outputs were substantial improvements for EMF diff merge that is still used in the Eclipse community. On the other hand, we had a strong motivation to build a tool called Lemon Tree today. In the early days, it was called Model Versioner, and in the beginning, we worked basically for one customer, and we very soon found out that we need our own middleware to read the models in a fast and structured way, and also to have the possibility to add other tools to this middleware later down the road, and not just Enterprise Architect. For example, now the middleware can also read and write CodeBeamer data. And so we have different model read-write adapters, and Lemon Tree is based on this technology. There is no code shared with the EMF diff merge. It's pure .NET. We are working on a Linux version based on .NET Core for the future. So it's really a lot still going on, and we have a commercial product since a few years, which is a direct success story of the two research projects before. So it's been 15 years of research and product development. And I think for our several thousand users around the globe, it's already a big step forward. Obviously, there is still ways to go. We have plenty of ideas how to further improve our tooling, but I think the achievements are really good, and people like it.
Okay, now we would like to have a closer look at different solutions of model versioning, especially within Enterprise Architect, to see what is already possible with Enterprise Architect and how Lemon Tree can extend these use cases. So first, in Enterprise Architect, we have our repository, and the repository, as you may know, is a database. And this database can be used as a private model. So one user, one Enterprise Architect user has its own project, his own database. And we can use the baseline feature in order to create baselines of model branches. The baselines are stored within Enterprise Architect, within the database as a binary. And this is actually an XMI, which is XML. Yeah? So the content of the database is stored as XML document within the database. And we can run the following use cases. Like we have the possibility to compare a model with an earlier version. So we have the model, the current model in the database, and we can compare this version with one of the previous baselines. We can also do a graphical compare. So we can compare diagrams, but only the graphical changes. So if someone has added something within the diagram or into the diagram, removed something from the diagram, or just moved something within the diagram. So the changes of the model are not reflected in the diagram, just if something is moved or deleted or added. Yeah, in addition to that, we have also the possibility to use the baseline in order to merge back changes, yeah, to delete something which is added, merge something back from the baseline which was modified, or restore some elements which have been deleted in the current model. Good. It is also possible to use the Enterprise Architect repository as a shared model. So it's the same setup. So we can run the same use cases. We have the possibility to compare diagrams and models and merge. But here, multiple Enterprise Architect users access the same database at the same time. So here we have an additional use case we can run. We can concurrently work on the same model at the same time. And exactly the same version. So it is the same model. Yeah? Because there are other use cases so to work on the same version, but in different repositories, but that's another story. Okay. So when we use version control systems, so Enterprise Architect also supports version control systems. So we have the private model, and if we make a model branch, so we copy the EAP file, the database, we can use a version control system in order to exchange data from one database to the other. This is also done by exchanging XMI data. So on the left-hand side, for instance, I can put one single package or the whole model branch as XMI under version control, and the right-hand side model can check it out. Yeah. And Enterprise Architect currently supports Subversion, CVS, DVS, and everything which is SEC compliant. Unfortunately, not Git, because Enterprise Architect is using the pessimistic version control, which is based on lock, modify, unlock. This is required because Enterprise Architect is using the simple features of this text-based version control systems, and in case this version control system will work with XMI files, the XMI file will be compared. And of course, this is technically possible, and we can figure out the changes, and the version control system would merge the XMI file, but the result will not be a valid XMI and will be useless. That's the reason why this approach was chosen. So we can run, again, these use cases. We have the possibility to compare models to different versions. So to different versions in the version control system. We can also merge back. The same use cases we can do with baselines. In addition to that, we have not the possibility to use concurrent working at the same model at the same time, because we are not working at the same model. Yeah? We have a model copied, we have a model branch. But here, if the model is a private model, so here left and right hand side, for instance, is a private model, but if the private model is put on the server, on the network share, we can make it a shared model. So this use case is somehow also possible with this scenario. And we can work on the same model in different versions, but not on the same, not at the same time at the same item. So for instance, because of this lock, modify, unlock mechanism, we can, so left-hand side modeler can check out package B because it's locked. Right-hand side modeler cannot check out and work at package B at the same time, but can work on package D. So that's what we can do here. And of course, we can have a special use case. We are able to publish and use a specific version of a package branch. For instance, the use case is like this. We have the left-hand side modeler, which creates a library contained in package B. This package B is put under version control, and the right-hand side modeler can check out only this package because of the locking mechanism. This package is locked in the right-hand side model. The model can be used but not changed. And the left-hand side modeler is the owner of this package and provides new versions. And if the right-hand side modeler would like to get a new version, just update it from the version control system by getting the latest version. Enterprise Architect also supports a similar use case with different technologies. It's called reusable asset service. It's also based on XMI, but without version control system. It is based on the ProCloud server, which is the server of Enterprise Architect. It works without locking mechanisms. So if I'm sharing my library to my right-hand side modeler, it's up to them to change it. So it's free to change to the library as well. Good. Another possibility to use different versions of models in Enterprise Architect is also using XMI and XMI merge. For instance, we have our repository, the original, then I have two new versions. So I have copied the original one. I have a left-hand side and a right-hand side version again. Both are modified, and then I create an XMI export of the right-hand side model and import this XMI via XMI merge to the left-hand side model. And there are specific strategies how to import this. This is these are the rules. So for instance, if on the right-hand side I have modified a model element, this will override the left-hand side model because we are importing the XMI. So XMI is the stronger part. If on the left-hand side an element is deleted, the import will recreate this element because in the XMI it's still existing. So XMI again is the stronger part. So if I delete something in the right-hand side and import it, it will be deleted on the left-hand side. Again, XMI is stronger. If I add something new, this will just be added. And if something is added on the left-hand side, this will not be touched. So with short words, we take everything from XMI, from the right-hand repository, and keep the new items from the left-hand repository. Or it's an automatic merge, and the use case is, the scenario is import another version as it is, but keep only the new version of my version of the left-hand side. And in order to figure out what has been changed after import, it's a good approach to create a baseline first, which is still possible. Yeah, create a baseline first, then do the XMI import, and then you can compare the new version in the repository with the previous baseline in order to see all the changes. There's another approach,
which I have to say, I do not recommend this.
Yes, it is. We added it to the slide because it still exists. It's only based on XMI, sorry, on EAP. It's an MSChat database, and it uses the replication mechanism of the MSChat database. So it's pure database technology. The database is configured as replica master. We make replicas, so we make copies of this master, and then we can modify both versions at the same time. And with the replication mechanism, we get the union of these two versions, which is more or less the same use case of what we can do with the XMI merge. So it's an automatical merge. We import another version, but keep the new one. But here is a special case. So again, it's good to have a baseline first before we do the synchronization in order to see really what was going on, because everything is a black box. Yeah. So it's easy. We just click a button, but in order to see what has been changed, it's required to have a baseline. And if we have update conflicts, so if the left-hand side and the right-hand side modular are changing the same items at the same time, the conflicts must be resolved on the database level. So we see which records are conflicted, and then we have to decide which record we would like to take. And that's not that easy and user-friendly. So that's the reason why in really small teams, and if you know what you're doing, you can use it, but it's not that recommended for the big enterprises.
So obviously also other companies have model versioning approaches. I don't want to go into too much detail here. I think Horst told you most about the enterprise architect stuff. There is one additional capability that has an odd name, time-aware modeling, but it's not. We have not seen a lot of application in the real world so far. So obviously, you have chess, you have solutions by 3DS, Cameo Systems Modeler, you have solutions by IBM, Dassault Systems, and you have solutions from pure variants when it comes into variant management systems. What I personally think, those solutions work very well, but you have your versions in a vendor-specific platform that is not linked to your software processes or to your software version control systems. So there is tools out there that can do stuff, but you always have to be on a specific vendor backend for having your version control stuff done. Pure Variants uses the enterprise architect model for some parts, and they do like a 150% model in a centralized repository, and then typically customers render 100% models into EAP files. So this is just an approach. What we think is a good approach for the future, and also when you look at SysML 2.0, there is an initiative in America going on that's called OpenMBE, which is driven by JPL, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory of the NASA, from Lockheed, Boeing, and Ford, and they try to create a model repository that doesn't have vendor lock-in and is open source. And as a matter of fact, it also serves as a test bed for the SysML v2 implementation that is coming up. One important thing that many people achieved is that the SysML v2 will finally have UUIDs on elements in the spec. So it will be easier to move elements from one tool to another and still keep the identity. And this is a big breakthrough. And also when you look at the SysML v2 API spec that is coming up, there is things about version controlling embedded in the heart of the SysML v2 API. So these topics have made it into the future standards, and I think it's very exciting to see that all this work that has been done around us and with our friends and so on really now seems to be ready for prime time because the API, the standard for the API for SysML v2 will have version control embedded into the standard. So the next topic set is Lemon Tree. I want to encourage you, if you have questions, feel free to ask. We haven't had many questions so far, so you're very open to to make it a bit more interactive and ask questions as we go. So Lemon Tree is our product. Obviously, I'm a little bit a fanboy because I use it every day and present it every day. So bear with me if I get too optimistic or whatever. So the idea is generally what people want to do. They want to work in parallel. They want to use optimistic version control solutions and not these lock-unlock mechanisms as we've seen before. To be able to do that, you need a strong different merge tool. So the very simple explanation of what Lemon Tree can do for enterprise architect teamwork, it's something like beyond compare or win merge. It's a clever different merge tool for this type of data. And what happens if I work on the model and check it in and Philip later checks in his changes, we have a conflict on the version control level and we need a different merge tool. Lemon Tree tries to do the merge automatically. If it sees there is a conflict where a user should be asked, I get presented with a user interface to resolve the conflict. Because people don't want optimistic version control just for the scenario shown before, but in reality, people want to work with feature branches, they want to do product line development, they want to do platform development and merge stuff around into customer projects. And for all of these ways of working that are very common in the software industry, in the source code business, you need strong different merge capabilities for your MBSE models. Otherwise, there is no way you will have an agile way to doing MBSE down the road. Also, if you work with branches, this gives you very good steps in your process when you merge back to do reviews with the team or do reviews between teams. Every merge is a chance to talk to each other. So it's really, really good way. Typically, best practice, what our customers do, they use something like Git flow, a process they know already from the software engineering departments, and apply it to their MBSE. On the other hand, you can also use this platform syncing, product line type of stuff to do variant management with only 100% models without having to maintain the 150% model, which is sometimes also a big challenge. And there is advanced scenarios with Lemon Tree. I can work obviously alone with Lemon Tree, only on my computer, but I can also work with Horst. Those on our computers, everybody has their private model. It's almost like a shelf, you know, we can try stuff, we can play with the model, we can do refactorings in a safe way without publishing immediately. And when we are happy, we could have a meeting, or if we believe the other guy is happy anyway, we check it in or pull it out of the version control system. And whenever there is a conflict, Lemon Tree helps us to solve the conflict either in an interactive way or in an automatic way. And it says advanced because you also can publish this model from the trunk, from the version control system at certain stages to a shared model that you use for a wider audience, either for not so experienced EA users, or you establish a web tool like Prolaborate to access the data, and you can collect data. They can even change the model, and the next time you want to look at what the bigger audience did, you again use Lemon Tree, compare it to the model in your version control system, and decide which of the changes or comments the bigger group bring in, you bring back to the version control system, and so on. So this gives you unmatched control, and still the model is not hidden from the wider audience. And this is again for Horst.
Yeah, what we saw already are a lot of use cases. So these are the use cases I mentioned with Enterprise Architect. So what's possible with Enterprise Architect. Of course, with here a few restrictions like the concurrent working on the same model at the same time will not work if Enterprise Architect version control is used because of this lock modifying unlock. But we have this possibility to put one of the private models on a file share and make it a shared model. Then we can also work on the concurrent but the same model at the same time. In addition to that, Lemon Tree provides a few more use cases, like on the concurrent working on the same model at the same time. We can do it with Lemon Tree as well. So if we use like the scenario we saw in the previous slide, so we can put a version on a file share as well and make it a shared model. Also with Lemon Tree. And here below, if we publish a version of a specific package branch, there is also an additional product which will be released in future. It's called Model Packaging and Managed System, MPMS. So maybe Daniel has a few words about this.
Basically, what we try to develop, and we already have pilot customers using it, it will allow you to slice your bigger model into smaller model components that can be reused either in the same model or across product lines. Okay. We have one question from Fran Luke, which fits rather well. I would say he's asking how can you use Lemon Tree if you only want to use a shared database? We have banking customers that work in this way. They create basically copies of the shared database on SQL Server for each release. And they have 3 to 4 releases running in parallel with different start and end dates. And whenever a release is finished, they use Lemon Tree to merge back the model changes from the release into their core model or their live model, the model that reflects the system deployed. And yes, the second part of the question is if you need an admin to merge, I would really advise you to only have a few people that do the job of merging models into shared databases. For the EAPX workflows, it's simple. But with the database merging into SQL Server, you need to know a little bit more.
Good. To explain a few more details, the green use cases, the extended use cases from Lemon Tree, it is possible to use, for instance, baseline with Enterprise Architect in order to compare the current version with a previous one. There's extended use case with Lemon Tree. If we have Lemon Tree, it is also possible to compare 2 different baselines to each other and get the information, what are my changes and what are the others' changes. Yeah. Another possibility is to show all model changes within a diagram. Remember, here we have the possibility to compare graphical changes, but only changes in the graphics. So if something is moved or added or deleted, but here with this Lemon Tree user interface, we have also the possibility if something is changed in the metadata of a model element, we can also show diagrams in which these elements occur in order to get a better understanding of the model and the changes in the model. When it comes to merges, Lemon Tree also supports calculating dependencies when we decide to take the left-hand side or right-hand side element. So it could be that there are dependency if I select one attribute and the class is deleted. Of course, the class must be restored as well, and there are much more complicated dependencies as well.
And I think we missed one key point about this. We can do this detection of deletion or change because we implemented a three-way diff, which was also part of the conclusion of the research work done, that you need a three-way diff, something the source code tools are doing anyway, but you don't see it. But for modeling, we had to implement this three-way diff to be able to merge properly. We have one more question from Srinivas. He asked, is it possible to add review comments inside Lemon Tree while comparing model files? Srinivas, this is something we hear rather often, and it's something we have on our roadmap. As I'm not the responsible product manager, I don't want to promise a date now, but we are in frequent contact anyway. So please write to us that this feature would be appreciated, and I will try to push product management to bring it faster. The next question is from Mark Fitchett. Does Lemon Tree report changes to the layout of the diagram? Yes, Mark, it does. We differentiate also. In Enterprise Architect, you have an element and you have a diagram representation of an element as an object, and Lemon Tree can do that. And we also have an additional feature that you can switch Lemon Tree, you can filter in Lemon Tree not to show diagrams as changed where just the layout was altered. So there's a filter. If you want to have more detail, I'm more than happy to offer you a short WebEx or Zoom meeting to show you all the details.
Because going into all the details really, because versioning and merging is not that easy topic. So there are many different use cases and many different special use cases. And what you see here are just the major use cases which can be run with Lemon Tree and also with Enterprise Architect. There are a few other use cases as well, but these are the major use cases we would like to show you, and how Lemon Tree can extend the possibilities of Enterprise Architect in order to do concurrent versioning and to concurrent working.
I think we are almost finished. We have one more question. Santosh asked, is it possible to always choose what Lemon Tree merges? Yes, Santosh, you have to modify the command line to always show the user interface, then you have full control on what gets merged. If you need details, feel free to contact our support and we will answer it. So, conclusion, you have seen some of our 15 years. We have not yet stopped. We are moving fast and faster, and yeah, Lemon Tree is very promising both for us and our users. We have several thousand users around the globe, mainly in MBSE, but banking is coming and insurance is coming stronger and stronger. And we also try to push our approaches back into academia. For example, I will have a talk at the Models Conference in Montreal, and we are also working to contribute to standardization organizations with our work and with our findings. Okay, so one last question. Can we see a short demonstration? Markus, we have done several webinars lately that show the tool in more detail. If you want to see them, they are on our blog, or you contact me and I do a one-to-one session with you, no problem. Okay, so it's 44. We have one more question. Can we do baseline of EA models using Lemon Tree? Yes, you can, but you do not generate the baseline in EA, because each EAP is a baseline by itself.
So, for instance, if you check in, or the workflow is you work with an EAP file and you check it in, then you have a baseline, and then you can compare your current EAP file with any version which is stored in Git. So the baseline is the EP within Git.
The very last question, will it also be possible to merge XML files? No, we have done this in the past in proof of concepts and so on, and we moved away from it. That's why we develop our MPMS, where we will serialize the model into JSON file, where we have better control, and especially better control on cross-package dependencies that allow us to do the same stuff you want to do with XML files, but in a more powerful way that allows us to do everything you're used to from Lemon Tree with package exports or model components or however you call it.
And for instance, MPMS is more like NuGet. You can import a component, like a new NuGet component, and NuGet or the MPMS will tell you what version of other packages you require and automatically updates also the other versions in order to get a consistent model.
Okay, so this is Connor speaking again. Thank you very much for the good presentation. And thank you for listening our webinar. We will send out the slides together with the YouTube link via email. And we will contact you also with news with the next webinars in summer and autumn. So thank you very much again and stay healthy.